I'm Noel Kingsbury.
And I'm Annie Guilfoyle.
And together we run Garden Masterclass.
An education portal for garden and landscape people.
Designers, garden management people, landscape architects.
And of course, enthusiastic home gardeners.
We organise live events, mostly in the British Isles, and run webinars and online courses.
Many of these are available as recordings from our extensive online library.
We also have a weekly free broadcast with recordings going to our YouTube channel.
And we produce podcasts available on Substack.
We aim to be at the cutting edge of sustainable garden and landscape practice,
giving our audience the opportunity to learn from the leading global experts.
We hope you enjoy this video and invite you to find out more about what we do.
So please do come and join.
To Thursday Garden Chat, everybody, the public service broadcast from Garden Masterclass. I'll just begin with a roundup of the events, the webinars we've got lined up for you in the next couple of weeks, all of which, of course, can get more information and can be booked from the What's On page on our website, the website that to us is still looking really very, very new. The 12th of January, we've got Josh Sparks talking about his so-called natural farming at Birch Farm. Josh, for many years, was the head gardener at Ford Abbey and then made a complete break and went over to growing vegetables and edibles in a very kind of radical format. And there's been quite a bit of a sort of social media buzz about that. So that's an opportunity to find out more about that on the 12th of January. On the 13th of January, we've got Alex Stoodley, who's an English gardener working on, I think it's either Mallorca or Mallorca, of course I always mix them up, don't I, about the ins and outs of how you manage Mediterranean zone shrubs. That's going to be of great use, obviously not to people in the Mediterranean, but also to those increasing numbers of people who are working with sub-shrubs and dry climate shrubs. So it's really good to have a practitioner right at the secateurs face to talk us through that. 20th of January, we've got Jack Aldridge talking about shrubs for winter interest. Jack is a very up-and-coming younger gardener at RHS Wisley with a wonderful knowledge and enthusiasm of woody plants. We've got the Andrew Duff on Design course starting on the 26th of January. And this is not just for garden design, this is for anyone who really wants to think quite deeply about how they design their garden, their planting. Andrew is very much a designer's designer, somebody who perhaps is not so well known as a garden designer, but in the profession is very well known and hugely respected. And he did 3 sessions for us last year, which were really interesting, really thoughtful, and one of those people who just has this incredibly wide-ranging aesthetic, which he brings to bear on the business of how you design gardens. One more I'll mention, which is Sally Morgan talking about microclimates and transition zones in the garden on the 3rd of February. Again, somebody very much a practitioner who's made a real study of how you get really minute changes of climate within a garden and the impact that it can have on what you can grow and how you grow it. So, we've got now, we've got some places left on the 2 days at Dan Pearson's Hillside in June, 16th and 17th of June. Members have had priority booking. There's a few places left for non-members. So if you want to book, just get onto the website and book now. Otherwise, you'll have to wait again till next year, because that's always very, very popular, as I'm sure you can imagine. So over now to tonight's guest. And by the way, I've got Richard Court here as co-host.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Richard down in Somerset. He'll be letting people in if necessary. Annie being otherwise engaged. I can't remember where Annie is this evening, gallivanting about, lecturing, teaching, or doing something worthy. Anyway, tonight we're going to Sweden. We've got Karin Svensson as our guest. Now, Karin is a teacher, lecturer at SLU, the University which is essentially a land sciences university that has a number of locations in Sweden, one of them at Alnarp, which is just north of Malmö, right at the very southern tip of the country. My relationship with Alnarp goes back, I think, to 1996 when I first visited and got to know this marvelous couple, Eva and Roland Gustafsson. Roland we had on Thursday Garden Chat quite a few years ago. Eva, I'm sad to say we never did get on. She died last year, which is very sad. I mean, she was a wonderful person. I learned so much from Eva. And the little ramble I'm going to start off with about perennials in Sweden, which Karin may or may not agree with, is very much what I've gathered from Eva, is that the British tend to sort of tend to be rather surprised when they think that Scandinavia has any kind of garden history whatsoever. But that's all part of the stereotype. Sweden actually has quite a rich 20th century garden history. And it was one of Eva Gustafsson's self-appointed tasks to research that. However, in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, as I understand it, things went on a real downward plunge. There was a real kind of lowest common denominator feeling about a lot of Swedish gardens and landscapes, and perennials simply rather went out of fashion. The point at which they got into fashion again, I think, can be very much put down to one particular project, which was Pete Aldolf Dream Park in Köping, which was a town to the west of Stockholm, where he created a spectacular public planting, which really seemed to sort of stimulate an interest in perennials again. And now Peter's done a lot of work in Sweden. There's a lot of really interesting Swedish garden designers, and it's a very lively scene. I mean, Karin, is that a sort of fairly, I mean, do you agree with that as a sort of a brief summary of recent Swedish perennial history?
Yeah, yes, it sounds
Yeah, I mean,
good.
the whole thing about Pete was that Pete met Stefan Mattsson, and Stefan was the green spaces manager in Köping, and a terrific innovator. I mean, a really fantastic guy with an amazing ability just to sort of squeeze everything out of budgets to make pocket parks and really enhance the garden landscape of the town. And he was sitting next to Pete on a bus tour as part of a conference. And apparently Stefan said to Pete, well, what about these perennials? But these perennials you promote, will they all grow in Sweden? And Pete said, well, of course they will. And he later admitted to me he was just completely bullshitting. So Stefan said, well, Stefan actually made a joke and said, well, perhaps you should come and design a park for us. Pete didn't get the joke and basically said, well, okay, well, I'll come over then. And, the rest is history. It all started on a bus trip.
And as far as I know, that was Pete's first big commission.
Well, it was. It was the first big public commission. Yes. So, Karin, we will start by asking people how they got involved with plants and gardens.
Well. I guess it's in my genes, and a lot of chance, of course, along the road. I grew up very close to nature and spent a lot of time, every spare time, in nature, dealing with nature, growing things and so on in our summer house. And I've always been kind of obsessed with beauty and aesthetics and so on. And I actually started studying ceramics. So I became a ceramicist in my early 20s. And then I realized I had to make my living, which was not so easy, being a potter in Sweden. So I started study landscape architecture in Alnarp. Yeah, and I never left the university. I started teaching very early when I still was studying in Alnarp. So, and well, it's been great.
Yes, yes.
So I never had a reason to leave, actually.
No,
And still not have.
I think Alnarp is a singularly lovely university campus, and it's set within
It is.
the bounds of a lovely parkland with a terrifically interesting range of trees. It's got a lovely trial. It's got a lovely plant collection garden, and the buildings are beautiful, and everything is, it seems to felt to me, very, very well appointed, very spacious, and no, just a fantastic environment.
Yeah, it is. And I also like teaching very much.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, that's it.
Yes, good, good. So now you've travelled a lot, looking at plants in the wild, and I think you'd like to start off by talking about some of your travels.
Yeah, I put together a presentation here. We'll see if we can see all the pictures that I have squeezed in here. So I will share with you this one. Full screen. Is that okay?
That's full screen, yeah.
Yep, it's great.
Good, good. And that is obviously me in my, in the very best situation, surrounded by flowers in a kind of remote place. I've been traveling quite a lot because I kind of, first of all, I love plants, and I love all plants. And I think you can get so much from seeing plants growing in the wild, to learn from that, and also get inspiration. And in these kind of vacation trips to remote places. I have also photographed a lot and used all the material in my lectures in Alnarp in teaching. So yeah, that has been very useful, really. Yeah. And everywhere you kind of meet people who love plants, and you are not unique at all. I think it's quite moving, actually, that people are growing plants not just for feeding themselves. They're growing plants for enjoying them, and that's the same everywhere. I think you can find a pot with a tiny azalea on the doorstep, or something in the most remote places. Yeah, and
where is this, Karin?
oh, this is Northeast India, in Arunachal Pradesh, in the Himalayas, in a village called Dirang. And this was I did a spring trip there in 23. So this is spring. Well, actually, Noel, you told you would ask me about my teaching. So this is an illustration about my teaching.
Yes, yes.
But I can tell you without asking that I've been teaching plants, of course, and plant related stuff. Ornamental plants, of course, how to identify and how to use them, and what plant to use where, and where they come from, and all that. And also botany. So this is a a situation actually with the botany class. It's a test of identification of wild plants in Sweden, and we do that every year. And sometimes it's like this, sunny and nice, and sometimes it's not. It's raining, but we have to be outside. Yeah, a bit exciting and very nice to spend some days with the students in the nature and botanizing from dusk till dawn. Yeah. Do you have more questions about teaching? Otherwise, we will move on.
It's interesting that you say you've always loved teaching.
Yeah, I didn't know from start, but
No,
it turned out that I
it's
like
something.
this.
It's something that I think you discover, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's something that you love, you want to
Yes.
share it with others,
Yes.
and teaching is a good way to do that. I think.
Yeah.
And guide the students to
Yes.
where you want them to be.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
well, I will flick through some images now from various trips. Yeah, as a plant lover and flower obsessed person, there are a lot of hotspots around the world actually where you can go to really indulge in flowers, and I've been to Caucasus for I think 4 times now. 3 times in Georgia and 1 time in Lesser Caucasus in Armenia, in peak flowering period. And yeah, it's totally wonderful. You can see these alpine meadows with fantastic flowers, and some of the plants you recognize from home, from your own native plants, and some you recognize from gardens because we have a lot of garden plants coming from the region here, and some are completely new to you. And yeah, recently there have come out quite a couple of good field guides to Caucasus, which
Oh,
can be
really?
really useful.
Yes.
The first time I went there in 2005, there were more or less nothing actually, just the Russian flora
Yeah.
in Russian. But now you can get some. Yeah, and then speaking about familiar plants that you know from gardens, here we have Stachys macrantha and Geranium renardii, good old garden plants, but you get so much from seeing them in the wild, where you can see, for instance, this geranium growing in very exposed, quite dry situations, and then you see it in more shaded places where it gets bigger and more lush and so on. And you can see the potential in the plant by looking at it in nature. And the
I
same,
would say that very often when you see a plant growing wild in nature, you're not seeing it growing in optimum conditions. You're actually seeing it in the
no,
worst conditions it can tolerate.
yeah, that other plants
Yes.
can't outcompete them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's the potential you see, which can be really, really useful when you plan to grow them in a cultivated situation. Anyway, Cotinus cugigria, seeing it in the wild, it was wonderful, I think. And you can really see the potential in this plant because it's extremely drought tolerant, and it grows in these very, very exposed situations with hardly no soil. It just grows in stones or cracks in stones like this. And yeah, very few plants, as you can see here, can compete with it. You can see some grasses like Melica ciliata and so on, and sedums and that. So this tells you this is a really good plant for the tough conditions in urban situations, I would say. And this is the complete opposite. We are still in Caucasus here, but down a valley with a good moisture, a nutrient soil, and here is the place where we see Cephalaria gigantea. And of course, the Cephalaria already tells you, I'm big, I'm 3 meters tall, I need a lot when it comes to drinks and food. Uh, yeah, and here it grows together with the Delphinium elatum, also a biggie, and Geranium celostemon, the Armenian geranium. All big plants. You feel like a Lilliput when you make your way
Are
through
these
this.
part of a so-called tall herb flora?
Yeah,
Yeah.
extremely tall herb
Yeah.
flora, I would
Yes.
say, because I almost drowned
Yes.
in this,
Yes.
completely
Yes.
covered in
Yeah.
tall
This tall
herbaceous
herb
plants.
flora is something that in Britain we don't really appreciate. I mean, it's something very much a feature of mountain habitat, mountain environments, isn't it? Where you
Mm.
have this oxygenated, mineral-rich water flowing underground. It's like a kind of almost like a hydroponic system that plants that are able to just grow, make
Yeah.
they are extraordinary environments, aren't they? And as you say, very, very lush and luxuriant and sometimes quite impenetrable. And as you say, the stuff
Mm.
towers above you.
Yeah. But it's not a wonder that you have to feed your delphiniums
Mm,
to
mm,
make
mm.
them going and growing and getting big. Yeah, yeah. I mean, learning from nature is of course about what plants can tolerate and so on. But as a, I wouldn't consider myself as a designer, but I do design plantings, and I yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from nature, from meadows and so on. And this is one of those wonderful alpine meadows in Caucasus with geraniums and bistotas and so on. And also this rumex, the brownish upright
Mm,
thing here.
Mm.
It's not a plant that you would bring into a planting, maybe, but seeing it here, I think there is a beauty potential in it. I think it does a lot to this area with this horizontal, and the different color and so on. Yeah, so it can give you a lot of crazy ideas, actually.
mm,
This
mhm.
is a completely different meadow, but just close to the other one, but with completely different range of plants. And I can't tell why. But of course it has to do with the soil and so on, but completely different species here.
Karen,
Also, yes,
do you remember how close those two locations were?
uh, it
It's quite
could
interesting.
be 100 meters or yeah.
Hmm.
I
Very
was
interesting.
walking and down a hill, and there were constantly new combinations of meadow, uh, yeah, communities. Wonderful. The happiest moment in my life, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. And then there are plants that yeah, at first you get really surprised that you find them in nature the first time. But then you get used to them, and yeah, they are not hard to appreciate, these liliums. And it says here Monadelphum, Kessleringianum, Schrovitzianum, because even the botanist says it's very, very hard or almost impossible to separate them. They are all three around the area in Caucasus. And there are other names as well used in Armenia. Lilium armena, for instance. Anyway, they're wonderful to look at. And also the woodland floor is wonderful, I think. In Caucasus, you can find a lot of species-rich field layers in the woodlands with hellebores and yeah. Yeah. Now I just lost it. But anyway, a lot of nice plants on the woodland floor. I actually did an investigation or documentation of different mixes of plants here that I have a plan for using in my research to come. I will talk more about that later. I'm just having a look at the watch. Oh, time is flying. Well, another trip or two have been to Northeast India. I mentioned it before, to the Himalayas. It's completely different from especially Sweden. It's a monsoon climate with a lot of rain and these really, really high elevations and extremely remote. Arunachal Pradesh is the state where I went. And it's, yeah, bad roads, very little populated, and so on. But a true adventure, and it's totally packed with fantastic plants. One of the areas where Kingdom Ward traveled in the 30s and 1930s and so on, and introduced a lot of plants. For instance, the blue poppy and all that.
Mm.
Yeah, and yeah, this is an area where you can see really, really untouched woodlands, virgin woodlands that have never been cut, which is a truly fantastic experience, I would say. But the roads are extremely bad. Yeah, in November 2018, we traveled, I think, 300 kilometers on this horrifying road, but you get used to it. And as a plant lover, I really love the subtropics as well. I do appreciate that with the lush vegetation and yeah, fantastic plants and so species rich. And we came across this huge begonia. It's actually a begonia, this one.
Mm.
And picked a leaf of it. It looked like this. And
It's begonia, not farfugium.
no, it's a
That's
begonia.
amazing. Wow.
And yeah, probably Begonia silatensis. I know there is arguing going on about this. Yeah, fantastic. And in the spring trip, I mean, one of the things I really hoped for was to see Magnolia campbellias in flower. And we did, even though it was a bit foggy, with these giant flowers. And I know we can't grow that in Sweden because it's not hardy here. But in southwest England, I know you have a lot of them. And most of those are pink flowering, and we didn't see any pink flowering. All of them were white. But I guess the pink flowering are the most unusual, and because of that, they have been collected. Yes. But this one is a plant that we grow in Sweden, Betula utilis. But normally we grow the ones with white bark, I guess. That's most common. But all the Betulas utilis here, they had really dark, yeah, wonderful mahogany colored bark. And they got really big. You can see me on this picture here. Yeah. And not being as pioneering as I thought. Most Betulas are, yeah, true pioneers. But these could, yeah, make their way through the forest. And again, Magnolia campbellii, and I have never been a rhododendron, yeah, maniac also, but seeing rhododendrons in the wild is a completely another thing, I think. And in the spring trip, we had, yeah, a lot of rhododendrons. I think between 50 and 60 species, most of them in flower. Fantastic. Okay, so now we are moving to a more related, maybe landscape related to the things I work with normally. Tough urban conditions. I have been in Greece many times now, and I have almost always returned to the same peninsula. It's Mani. It has become quite botanically famous, I know, by now. But when I started going there, it was, yeah, not well known. But it is a botanical hotspot. You can't see it on this picture. On distance, it looks gray and all stones and mountains. But when you come close, it's so lush and green. I would say from end of October until mid-April, and then it gets totally brown. So I've been here both in early spring and in late autumn. And this is a really characteristic plant here, the Euphorbia dendroides, that looks like yeah, bonsai trees, more or less. And I love euphorbias in general. And this is another favorite, the Euphorbia rigida. I know it has become quite fashionable lately, or yeah, since some years. It's not hardy in Sweden, though, but we have to use other euphorbias. And that was a spring picture, and this is in autumn, and it's almost, yeah, more wonderful in autumn with these steel blue leaves. And the old olive groves, they are totally packed with flowers. This is how I like it. and a lot of geophytes, bulbs and corms in the area here. Anemone pavonina, for instance, fields of Anemone pavonina in spring. And also Anemone coronaria, the one that is grown for cut flowers. Yeah, and the color can differ, pink to purple and even red actually. So sometimes they are quite differ from Anemone pavonina. And amongst the geophytes, Sternbergia, lutea, this is an autumn picture in November. And you can still see the brown grass here, but the ground is coming to life, and some annuals are starting to germinate, and the bulbs are flowering. Also a lot of autumn flowering crocuses, like this very, very beautiful Crocus niveus. Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to travel that far to learn and get the inspiration. And on the east coast of Sweden, we have a big island. It's 130 kilometers long and quite narrow, and it's called Öland, and it's kind of made of limestone. It's a limestone shelf with very special landscape, totally flat and very, very thin soil. So here you can see Potentilla fruticosa or Dasyphora nowadays. Fruticosa growing, native. It's native to this area. And actually the Swedish name of this plant refers to Öland, this island. And here we have plants growing in the cracks of this limestone shelf, and that creates very nice patterns, I think, that you can get a lot of good design ideas from too. And some tiny, tiny landscapes with the smallest plants. Sedum album here, growing together with mosses and lichens. Yeah, nothing that you can transfer to urban garden, but it's just beautiful. And where you have a bit more soil, there are of course more plants growing, and you get vast meadows with orchids in spring, and there are a lot of orchids loving the calcareous situation. Like Orchis mascula and Dactylorytza, different species, here growing together with Saxifraga granulata. And some dandelions I can see, tiny ones. And these are really special plants that grow nowhere else in Sweden, but on this very special landscape on Öland. Globularia vulgaris and Helianthemum, Helianthemum ölandicum. It's actually a bit woody Helianthemum with smaller flowers than the usual one. Yeah, this is also Öland, but closer to the water, to the sea. It's a sand dune with the lamus, the bluegrass here, and a native Euphorbia aesula. Contrasting, nice, I think. And if you can't go 3 hours to Öland, you can just stay in your city, I think, because there, I don't know. This is probably not the situation everywhere, but in many, many big cities, you can find these interesting places with spontaneous vegetation. And this is an abandoned railway area in Malmö, in the south of Sweden, that is just colonized by spontaneous vegetation. There are native species, there are non-native species, species escaping from surrounding, yeah, gardens and so on, and just have a look. How do they distribute? How do they interact, the plants, and what plants are growing well and what plants are not growing well in this really, really dry situation that we have here. I think there's a lot to learn from that too. Okay, so should I tell you something about my research project?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Well, I got the opportunity. I've been teaching for a very long time, and I'm kind of getting old. So I thought that time was running out, but suddenly I got the opportunity to be or become a PhD student, and actually design the project, the research project myself, which is, oh, you can't be luckier. So of course, I dived into perennials and perennial plantings for tough conditions in urban cities, because I think that is where help is needed. How do we solve this, yeah, hopeless situation that we have in many cities with less money for maintenance and so on? We still need flowers, we do, but how do we make it? So I decided to try the mixed planting system that kind of origins from Germany, but it has never been tested really in Sweden, or certainly not in a scientific way. So I put up a big field trial for perennial plant mixes uh, in on the campus area in Alnarp, because we have quite a lot of space there. So I try. It was planted in autumn 22, and I'm still monitoring them, the plots here. And I try 3 mixes for sunny and really dry situation, and 3 mixes for dry shade, that I think is a really challenging situation and considered as a problem in many situations. Yeah, and I also try 2 kinds of substrate, with and without organic matter or material. Yeah, so these are my trial plots in Alnarp for the sunny conditions. I also have kind of normal block plantings to compare with the mixes, because the question is about mixes, not the plants themselves, the individual species, because I already work with very drought tolerant plants in these mixes. Yeah, and this is how it looks, or looked in 24. Yeah, you can see a different mixes, and these are the mixes for dry shade, which I think have become quite successful, and I think they could be useful in many situations. Public space under street trees, for instance, or in the shade of tall buildings and so on. And yeah, there are both native species and exotic species. I haven't yeah, I use plants that can be grown, no matter if they are native or not, even though we have a big discussion on that in Sweden too. So yeah, in the shade mixes here, all the plants, of course, they origin from woodland areas, forested habitats, but also from dry forested habitats. So yeah, amongst the native species, we have Atyrium felix mars, a wonderful grass, Melka uniflora, that is not used as a perennial in Sweden. How is it with you, Noel? I think it's a fantastic grass. And Noel is taking a nap. How about you, Richard?
Melika uniflora. I haven't used it. Is that the one just in this? Is this the one in the center there? It's on the right hand
No.
side. It's on the right hand side of. Oh, it's this one.
Oh, that is actually not a good picture of it here.
Okay.
No, that is Milium in the Milium effusum in the middle there.
Right.
Anyway, I can just recommend it because it's a really good grass for dry shade.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then there are plants from North America, Southwestern Europe, Caucasus, and so on. And the range of plants or I mean species for dry shade is quite limited. So you don't have so many plants to work with in this situation, but many of them are evergreen. So you can really create a nice field layer all year round.
I take that back, Karen. I have used it. It's successfully in London in very dry clay
Yeah,
and almost completely shady areas.
yeah,
Very successfully. It's a great grass.
it is.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful. Very sparkly when it's flowering.
Yeah. Anyway, in my research project, I also have some reference plantings in 6 different municipalities around Sweden to test this in a really situation in an organization where you have people working or maintaining the mixes. So I asked for help from or volunteer municipalities, and I was lucky to cooperate with 6 different municipalities, and this is Karlskrona in the southeast of Sweden, a very, very dry place. And they wanted help with this roundabout, this big roundabout. And if you see this picture here, there are so many areas, strips along the road, except for the roundabout, that are they have to be maintained, but yeah, they are no joy for, for the people passing here if they are just covered in brown grass or paved or whatever. So I like to see these areas as a potential actually to bring in more joy, more flower joy. Anyway, yeah, it was an area of 500 square meters, and here it was planted in October 23.
Karen, what were you
Yes.
planting? What were you planting into? Did you bring anything in, or were you planting directly with
Well,
what was there?
it differed in the different municipalities, but in this case,
Mm.
we used the existing soil that was
Hmm.
sand, more or less sand,
Mm.
and that's the reason why they couldn't have a green lawn
Hmm.
because it became brown.
Mm.
But perfect for the kind of plants that I like to use. So we use this very well drained uh, and yeah, poor soil that was there already, and then we topped it with this grit. Is it called grit or
Great. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah?
Yep.
To prevent yeah the moist to go away, and also prevent some weed uh, establishment and so on. Yes. Yeah, and we just planted the plants. We didn't wash off of the soil and such things. Uh, and this is yeah, the year after actually. Or yeah, the I can't see here. You are
That's
in the way.
June 2025.
25, yeah.
And
So
the
it
one
was
before
planted
was that.
October 23, and so
Hmm.
it's yeah, the second growing season, you can say.
Mm.
Yeah, I was surprised by this grass here, Festuca myrei, uh, that grew so big in such short time. I didn't expect that, but pleased, of course, because
Mm.
it's a wonderful grass originating from the Atlas Mountains in northern Africa, and we can grow it in Sweden. Shoo-hoo.
Mm.
Yes, and this is July 25. And you see the yellow Galium verum.
Mm.
It's a native plant, but not used as a garden plant. But I think in a mix like this, it seems to work really well. We'll see what happens. And there are quite a lot of self-seeders too that will occupy the empty spots that might occur. And this is another of my reference plantings here in another city on the east coast, Kalmar, where they had this lovely planting with
Mm.
I think taxus or juniperus
Mm.
uh, as a bow, yeah, as a stripe between a bicycle path and a big road here. So we planted it. It was quite steep because it leaned like this. So we had to have a mesh to keep the soil in place and also the plants actually. But it grew really well. And it is a mix of really drought tolerant plants, perennials that have the potential of yeah, keeping alive and thrive actually in these
Wow, that's
tough
fantastic.
conditions. Yeah, yeah, they are pleased. In
Happy,
Kalmar.
happy customers.
Yeah, it's I, I did it together with the staff from the municipality, the maintenance staff there, and yeah, they really liked it because the people are stopping them and telling that they really appreciate it, and then they get happy. So
That's very important, and they have ownership of it, and they're taking care
yeah,
of it.
yeah, that's true.
Mm,
Indeed. Yeah, that's a lot to say about that, actually.
mm,
Okay. And then Noel asked me if he dared to ask questions about my own garden. And I said, well, yeah, this is my garden. And it's never open to the public or anything like that. It's just my place where I do my thing. So, yeah, it's a place for being when I have time to be with others. Not very often, but more time for experimenting, growing plants that I want to know more about, and try out combinations and so on. And yeah, this is an area where I have a lot of bulbs, spring bulbs that are naturalizing and so on. And this is also a kind of experiment where I try to grow tough perennials in existing tall grass.
mm.
That's a challenge, but
Yep,
yeah,
I'm used to that. I'm very
Yes,
interested in that.
yes. Really
yeah,
quite limited in my experience what you can do, but
yeah, but there are
there are, oh,
tough,
definitely,
There
yeah.
are.
really tough plants that
Yes,
can
yes.
do that. And growing some, yeah, vegetables and cut flowers sometimes and so on.
Mm.
Anyway, okay.
Well,
Thank you, Karen.
thank you,
Maybe there
Karen.
are any
Fascinating.
some
Yes.
That
questions.
was
I don't know.
incredible. Really, really beautiful, beautiful photos. The meadows and the crocuses and such were quite spectacular.
Yeah, they are.
Mm,
Question actually, what was the netting you used to keep the plants in place on the slope?
Oh, that's an composable net. I mean,
Oh,
it's
right. Yes.
made from organic fibers.
Yes.
I think it's coconut
Yeah. Wow.
fibers,
hmm
Yeah. Yeah.
actually.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
So after a number of years, it completely biodegrades.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when will your research be finished? When can we read the conclusions?
I would like to know that too.
hmm
No, I mean, the time is limited. So end of this spring, I will be half time because
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
doing this. Uh, yeah, I'm partly teaching still.
yes.
So
Yes.
I do this research work on 80%, and then I'm teaching 20. So
Good. Good.
that's how it is.
Yes. Yes.
And when you said you had no organic matter at all in one section and then some in others,
Yes.
what was the inorganic matter? What have you used?
Well, as an organic, I have used like garden compost,
hmm
mm, not
Mixed,
household compost,
yeah,
uh,
mixed with.
mixed into the substrate. Yes.
Okay, and the
And
sub. Sorry.
yeah, and already now, or already before, actually, very early stage, I could see that there were no difference actually in I mean, the steppe and prairie plants for the sunny situation. Very
Mm,
little difference between the two types of substrate,
mm,
but as expected, that you could notice quite a lot of difference for the woodland plants.
mm, mm,
And I expected that because woodland plants, they are used to getting leaf litter and so on. Um, but I my guess is that the differences will be less during time, because I don't cut the shade mixes in spring, because there are so many evergreen plants, so I don't cut them, which means that organic matter will come there and stay. So the differences will probably be less.
And they're
That is
all
my
in raised
guess.
beds. They're all in raised beds.
Yeah,
right?
that is to part of it is to imitate or to get a really dry situation, to raise the beds.
And what do they have access to? Do the roots have access to anything below the raised bed?
That's the question.
Yeah.
They were meant not to have access. I have double cloth under the plots.
Okay.
But I do suspect that some roots have made their way through the cloth.
Okay.
But I wouldn't know that until I turn the boxes around and check.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Karin. That was absolutely fascinating. I knew it would be. Lovely to see images from your travels. Very jealous of those. Be really interested to hear the outcomes of your trial plots when all that's done and dusted and you've analysed the results. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for an amazing talk.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We look forward to seeing you in person again before too long, I hope.
Yeah.
Come back again.
Yeah. Bye for now, Karin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.